Hello, everyone. This is Bob again, and as you can see here, we're going to be talking about Youngblood number 4. Um, I'm only going to do Youngblood number 4 here. I don't. I have some other Youngblood books. I think I told you guys in other videos that what I feel is peak Liefeld was Youngblood number 2, which I think had my favorite artwork from him, along with a story that I actually kind of liked. But then with like Youngblood number 3, he brings in Danny Miki as a inker, and I liked it at first. I liked it at first, but then somehow it changed. So this is where we're getting that transition of Liefeld art from what he did in Youngblood number 2, and I wish I had that copy here so I could show a comparison of when Liefeld was like inking himself and drawing in his older style. We know that like Danny Miki, I think, does things on here. Like, this is not a Liefeld leg to me, right? This was not how Liefeld had drawn legs before, and this is something that happened once Danny Miki had taken over as inker, okay? And I know that he was doing that because, to an extent, I don't know if it made his artwork look better. It did make it look, I guess, a little cleaner, a little crisper. But we're just going to go in and we're just going to like kind of talk about the artwork because, let's face it, there's no story. This is issue number 4, where it was supposed to end the 4-issue miniseries of Youngblood before going on to, the monthly title. And it even says here that it's in Final Battle. But then the Final Battle actually takes place in another comic that's not Youngblood, but Team Youngblood. And, I don't know. I feel like you should have planned that a little better, or maybe you should have added more pages to this to just end it on that note. I get, you're trying to sell comics, so, you do certain things in order to get people to read the other books by doing crossovers and such. But I feel like you should have had your Youngblood story finish at Youngblood, okay? But here we go. We have Youngblood flying here. Now, this is not a bad looking ship in my opinion, okay? It's pretty simple. I'm a person who hates drawing this type of shit. So I can relate to Liefeld that I wouldn't want to do it. And usually we get some like just amorphous blob of metal, like it's a liquid metal bubble or something like that with maybe a wing on the end. So I feel that Danny Miki may have had a little bit to do here because we're also getting buildings here, right? Like, that's not a trope of Liefeld. Like, we're getting some kind of background here in a Youngblood book, so that's a bit of a surprise. Getting the same thing here. Like a background here in this in this ship. But we have oh god, I cannot remember his name. I know that's Vogue. I always liked the way that Vogue looked, but in the amount of books that I've read from Youngblood, I saw Vogue like 2 or 3 times. Like, it was like seeing Deadpool in the early Liefeld, X-Force and everything. We got like 2-3 pages of Deadpool, but we never got anything about him. And he kind of looked cool, but like, you never saw him, you never knew what he was. He didn't do anything. We get the same thing here. Like, of course we have Bad Rock again. But man, I can't remember his name because I thought this guy was insanely cool. But I also thought he was like incredibly original. But then I found out that he wasn't. That he was like, there's a Marvel, race of beings or whatever that have these like flaming heads. And I can't remember. I saw it like actually not too long ago. It was when I found this out, and I'm just like, oh, of course, I should have known. I know that all of these people are like a derivative of something in some way because like he's supposed to be Speedy from Teen Titans, things like that. I know this was supposed to be Harley Quinn, and if that's the case, I'm just not seeing it. But I guess he maybe had to change the personality or whatever. because it's not Harley Quinn anymore. It's Vogue, a part of Youngblood. But here we have, to be honest, I like this picture, even though, like all of this is amazing. Like, do I have Liefeld to thank for this? Because this is like going to be one of the last times we ever see. Look at this chair. Who came in and drew this? We've learned looking through Liefeld stuff and from hearing him talk. He said it before that, he had his group of assistants who would come in and do things that he didn't want to do in the book that he's paying them. And they're like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this because we want to break into comics. So we're going to do that. Right? So who was the one responsible for this? Because I actually feel it's awesome. So this kind of makes an awesome picture here, except for Bedrock here. I think he lost control of this arm. Okay, he's like, this arm just seems like it's just way too big for the way that he's sitting, and then he's sitting so close to Shaft here. Is his arm like straight up Shaft's ass right here? Is that what's going on? Is that why Shaft is like gritting his teeth the way that he is because he's got this big rock fist up there? Maybe that's what the deal is. I don't know. I don't know what the hell that is. That's a gun. Okay, I'll give it to you. Look, I hate drawing that shit, so I get it. I think I would have tried to do something more than just a couple of tubes, though, but, it is what it is, right? Maybe get the guy who drew these backgrounds to draw your gun for you, because, that'll do it, right? But again, this is the second issue of Danny Miki inking Liefeld, and I like it, right? There's still, the classic Liefeld thing, but these legs are way different from what you used to get from Liefeld. So I feel like Danny Miki had a part in that. I like this picture, okay? Okay, backgrounds are cheap. We have smokestacks. Okay, there's something there. I am not even going to knock it because he literally put something there. We got some clouds. We've got the ship flying past here. That's awesome. But again, I just don't feel he's the guy who drew that ship, okay? I also would like to point out that in an interview that he had with the cartoonist kayfabe guys a couple years ago, he had stated that in any book that he did, even up until this day, that he inks all of the faces because the face is the most important part of the book. According to him, that's the most important thing. That's the thing that apparently draws our eyes. So that's why he tends to not care so much about anything else. It's the face. But he swears up and down that he inks the faces, right? I showed you before, and I think it was X-Force number 5, that was not true, okay? Because we have Brian Murray draw most of that book. I showed you the similarities between Cable and Supreme there. It was like the same guy was drawing it, which is obviously it was Brian Murray, right? So that was not Liefeld going in and drawing that face and inking that face. And again, now we have Danny Miki coming in here and inking, which we can see. It's a much smoother, sharper, crisper line. We're getting the same thing on his face here. There's no different from, the other inking that we're seeing here, right? This is being done with something just much smoother than what, I'm sorry, when Liefeld would ink, I know he was using like the Hunt 102 nib on his pen, and he was getting these very, very thick lines all the time. Like, to me, he would never have a very thin line on there. And, we're getting much thinner lines here and everything. Plus, it's just so, the inking's kind of perfect. Danny Miki's a good inker, okay? But again, he had to have inked these faces, Same thing with the pictures that we're getting on the other side here. So I'm sorry, but I want to call bullshit again because I just don't feel that Liefeld inked these, because it definitely looks like it was Danny Miki, okay? And we'll see more, of course, as we go on. They burst through an already burst window, I guess, into someplace, because I think we saw everything we're going to see of backgrounds, okay? But we have Die Hard here falling through this window and fighting these robot lackeys, these faceless, I can't say too much about that either, right? Like you have you know, like G.I. Joe, when G.I. Joe was fighting Cobra, okay? You had the generic Cobra soldier who was just wearing like a black mask and a helmet in a blue uniform. Very simple, very easy, because those were the ones that you were drawing the most, right? You had hundreds of those guys, but you only had like one Zartan and one Dr. Mindbender and stuff like that, where they would look different. So having these type of robots, we've seen it before in other books. He does a generic type of robot or a generic type of soldier. What do we care? We're getting that for one or two pictures, so I guess it works. I feel that it's like an opportunity to give us something original or to be creative. But I know that Liefeld likes to focus more on his characters and not like the bad guys so much, unless it's somebody that he feels is like an important big name bad guy. So these things are nothing to him, and he put that amount of time in there. This is a pretty cool picture of Die Hard, but again, this is something where the legs here are not what Liefeld would have drawn before. That's just not how he drew legs before. If you look at these older issues of New Mutants or X-Force, you could see that it was completely different. And this is something I noticed happening right after Danny Miki started. Okay, so again, I just feel like Danny Miki's helping out with the artwork a lot. Okay, or he made a recommendation to Liefeld and said, "Hey, look, if you do it like this works better, and I can ink it this way," and then it stuck. Okay, but for the most part, I don't know. There's sometimes I feel that Liefeld does the opposite of what I would do if I were drawing one of these books, right? So, like, you had Die Hard here knocking over these two giant robots, right? But he makes that the smallest portion of the page so that we can get this big picture of Bedrock's face, who may have been still Bedrock at this. It's still Bedrock at this time, but it's like, do we really need to see that picture of his face, right? We already got this, and got this, and this is the action portion. This is the thing I think should have taken up half a page, and then we could have had some faces or whatever. I don't know. It's just a thing that Liefeld's always done, where a lot of the action takes place in these very tiny pictures up at the top or whatever, little silhouettes, and then we get a gigantic, or we get two of the same picture, which we may see in this, because that's one of his tropes, of the face, here, and then one that's slightly bigger of the same angle, same face, same picture, or whatever, right? Here we have what I think is a pretty badass picture of Prophet. Now, this is also where we're not getting Brian Murray anymore on colors, right? We're getting Steve Oliff. He brought him over. Steve Oliff apparently was the guy, okay? He was the guy who was producing all the great colors. Everybody saw that on Spawn, and they're like, we want our book to look the same way. So it looks like, Brian Murray was drawing Supreme at the time, and I think that Brian Murray was doing a good job with it, because I think he was also writing Supreme. So, like, we're getting, like, an okay story and everything out of that, and I'm liking it. But this is a pretty badass picture of Prophet, even though the fucking hair, man. I'm sorry. It's just, like, I don't know. This is, it's not 80s hairband, but it's definitely 80s thing, like the girls used to wear that big fan thing or whatever. I don't know. That is some big poofy hair there. I find it funny. But again, we got this gigantic shot of Prophet here, right? Looks decent. Then we have this here, which is just like their heads, right? Not much in the way of word bubbles. And then here's where we're going to have all three of them and four giant robots coming in. That gets put as the tiny thing. This should be the biggest portion because it has the most energy. I feel like he still could have given us a nice shot of Prophet. This should just be like, much bigger, okay? Now they jump into battle. All of this looks pretty good. I think he punched the head off of somebody, and this is another thing that Liefeld tends to do. He just does it as a circle. It never looks like somebody's head. We can see these robots have these like oval, or that's like a weird kind of this sharper, more cube-like thing or whatever. But here, he punches one off and it's just perfectly round. It doesn't match up with this head or this head here, but it's what it is. He tends to do it, and I know that when I'm drawing, you're doing things. Sometimes you don't think about it, right? That's why, like, I would do a warm up whenever I'm drawing because I need to remind myself of all the things that I need to do. How to place eyes on there and how to make a face symmetrical and things like that, right? But then here is where we start getting into copyright territory or whatever. But I would like to point out that the entire time we have Die Hard here throughout this entire book, right? We have seen the back of Die Hard. We see Die Hard here where his hands are not doing what hands do when they're folded behind you. Nothing there. We got a nice clean shot of his taut buttocks right here. Nothing there, okay? We see his back here again. We see his back here again, right? Okay, we see his back here again. Maybe that's him. It's hard to tell which one's which. We see his back again. And then all of a sudden, he's wearing a shield. And now he's reaching for a shield, okay? And again, giant picture of the one guy. Tiny picture of all the guys. I feel like this could have made a more dynamic picture. This isn't bad. It's nice. I like it. It's just the opposite of how I would do it. This seems like it should take up more space over this, okay? I'm just saying. So anyway, he pulls out the shield, which he then, flies into this guy with it, throws it, okay, and apparently the shield has some kind of technology in it that will make it fly back to its person. So now we're getting into Captain America territory, where I know that immediately after doing this book, Marvel reached out and was like, if you don't stop this for suing, so then he wasn't able to throw the shield anymore. He still have a shield because, you can't own a copyright on a shield, but he can't throw it because that would be too much like Captain America, especially considering your character's also wearing red, white, and blue, Yeah, so this is another weird thing to me because we have this weird twisting of the body going on, right? So, like, if this is his body here, it should be like this, but it's twisting over because, the feet are not coming straight on like this. It's just a weird thing that, it doesn't look bad. It's probably a very hard angle to draw, and he made it work somehow. So it's not bad. All of these shots are pretty cool. There's an energy to it and everything. I actually particularly like this one, which tends to make me think that it was taken from somebody else. I'm sorry, but at this point, it's like, it's what it is when it comes to Liefeld, It's very hard to kind of give him credit for anything when you know so much of his history of everything that he's done, Here we go. We have another background again. I spoke too soon about not getting backgrounds on this anymore. But again, I don't feel that was Liefeld, Maybe it's Danny Mickey adding that in as he inks. We know that Liefeld, he'll pencil something, and it's to a point where he wasn't even inking anymore. He was just penciling very clean, sharp or whatever, so that they can darken it up, make it look like it was inked. And then he's hiring the best colorist he can find, and he leads it to his colorist to add backgrounds and to make that picture look good. He stated this. It's what it is, Okay, we got a splash page of Bedrock knocking this generic robot out. It's not bad. It's okay. It works, right? Cut to these other people. Shaft and Chapel finally show up after the battle's over. We see them breaking in through this wall here and everything. We got another background, right? And I guess they're meeting Prophet. Right? It's okay. And again, giant shot of a face, the whole team in the tiny little thing at the bottom. It just confuses me because, again, it is the exact opposite of how I would do this, okay? This, we could have had very cool shots of everybody. Now, I will say this. I love the silhouette, right? It works. It's kind of awesome. But this is, I feel, a cheap way of getting out of, like, doing the work, right? he likes to draw their faces. I get it, okay? You know, but I don't feel like that should have 80% of the page, and then 20% is left for 5 members of Youngblood, you know? And it's what it is, right? And again, I'd like to point out that we're like halfway through this book, and the only thing that's happened is a fight scene. They jumped into some building, and they fought some generic robots. That is all that's happened. There's nothing else, right? That's why I wasn't even talking about the story. There's no point in getting into dialogue and everything, because the dialogue is fucking atrocious. There's no reason. There's no point in any of that. This angle is very weird because, you know, I know he's trying something different here, so I'm not going to, like, try to knock it too much. But his arm, why is his arm, like, so far? I just feel like, you know, it should have, you know, his body should be coming down here more and not trying to trail off here. So it just makes it very weird. Plus, you know, the angle of the face. But again, it's not too bad. But it's just the body that got wonky because he kind of lost the perspective of it and like where it's supposed to be going. Like the center line here should probably be following more along this line so that everything lines up better. You know, but it's not, you know, it's not bad. Okay, I guess Vogue came in at some point. We don't get to see that, but she found Sentinel, which is Youngblood Iron Man. And apparently he's had the shit kicked out of him, brings him in. And I think he literally just tells Shaft that he had the shit kicked out of him. Okay. They find a boom tube or whatever Liefeld's calling it. Okay. But of course it's just Die Hard and Bedrock, right? This is not a bad picture of Bedrock running. I like it. It looks pretty good. When he does it from the side, I'm not really big on it, but that's not bad looking, right? But why are we getting just an entire page of them going, like, they're not getting any closer. They're not getting any closer until they finally, I guess, jumped in to this hole, and we see this guy in his cloak here, right? But we don't see the big baddie, right? But I'm going to say this also. I don't know why Liefeld has this thing now, or, you know, it was a thing that he did. Again, it's not bad. I'm not knocking him on it. You try some different things or whatever. We got the squinty eye and the big wide eye. He was doing it with combat. And it was almost every picture of combat that we're seeing that on, right? I don't know if that was meant to be that way here. Maybe it was just an inking thing or something. Who knows? But, you know, we know that's the big bad guy here. And I guess they're exchanging words. But can I just say, they came through a boom tube or a portal, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? They went to Apocalypse, because I know it's called something else here, but this is what this is supposed to be, and we all know it, okay? He's taking, you know, all of this was supposed to be DC characters and everything, so we could see, you know, the connections here, okay? But they go through here, and we should have had, like, a massive, instead of getting all of these, right? Instead of having panel of people talking here, this could have been summed up in half a page. This could have been summed up in half a page, right? And then we would have had a splash page of this guy looking badass or whatever. We're not getting that. We're getting him in shadow, then we're getting to see him here, right? That's weird to me, right? But Die Hard's like, all right, fuck you, I'm coming in. Boom. Oh, never mind. You swatted me out pretty quickly. And then this guy's like, you don't stand a chance, 16-year-old kid or whatever, right? And everybody else is like, you know, we know our team went in there, but we're not. We're just going to stay out here and hope they're okay. Excuse me. And then, who the fuck is Gray appears? So, like, okay, in Youngblood number 2, we had the Berserkers show up, right? And the Berserkers were there looking for Kirby or whatever, and they found Kirby, and I think they left, right? So, like, you never saw them in Youngblood 3. And now we're sitting here in Youngblood issue, I don't even know who the fuck this is. Somebody tell me who this is. Because we have Chapel, Shaft, Prophet, Iron Man, and I have no fucking clue who this guy is. Never seen him before in a Youngblood comic, alright? So, alright, I don't know. That's blowing my mind. Maybe that's a bad guy sneaking up on him. I don't know. Um, but now suddenly we have Gray here, and it's like, oh, I forgot that I should also have the Berserkers here. I guess these books are so disorienting because he's so bad at storytelling. It's the worst aspect of him. Maybe he could draw a decent picture. Okay, that's not bad. I like it, right? Uh, it's okay looking, but seriously, we get this like just a bunch of crosshatch shits, blobs, or whatever. Um, and you didn't want to draw the rest of the characters throughout the entire book. You just wanted to draw Die Hard and Bedrock. Okay, all right. And now we get a 2-page spread of wasted space, just wasted space. Here's Darkseid. He's taken over Bedrock with the anti-life equation. Bedrock's on his side now, so Bedrock's going to be defeating Youngblood. And now it's, oh, never mind. It's to be concluded in Brigade. It wasn't even Team Youngblood. It was fucking Brigade. It wasn't even a Youngblood book. So I don't know. That's hilarious because we still got like half a book here. There's still more pages here. So what the hell, right? You could have completed this. The book was already like fucking 6 months late. Just keep going, all right? Until you have it done. A side profile of a face is not Liefeld's thing. He's never figured it out and never, that's it. He likes drawing the faces on the front, gritting their teeth or whatever. From the side, we're getting the same thing. Everything just never lines up correctly or is right. It just looks awkward as hell always. But that's the end of whatever story. They literally jumped into a building, fought some generic robots, went through a portal, came back, and that's it. What? That is fucking insane. Okay, you could have taken 2 or 3 pages to, of more than 1 or 2 panels of people's faces on there to give us a little bit of story, right? And then you could have did a whole book of splash pages, and I wouldn't have cared. All right. So here's a letters page or whatever. I can't imagine what these people are saying. I don't think I ever read the Liefeld letters pages because what the fuck are they gonna say? Wow, great story, awesome characters. I don't know, right? Oh, and then so that's why. So the second half of this is the second introduction of Pitt, or the first introduction of Pitt. One of those. Artwork looks gorgeous. It does. The coloring is great. I love the green that they threw in here or whatever. Yeah, this is we've seen this before. It's on a subway, gang members want to attack something, Pitt, some alien creature that escaped or whatever. He shows up just in time to tear down these guys who are like, oh shit, this big monster. Okay, you see this in front of you. Should your first thing be like, oh, he don't look so tough. Let's fucking take him out with a baseball bat and shit. Are you fucking serious? Anyway, that's what I always, even in movies, that shit tends to crack me the fuck up, but whatever, okay? So Pitt, of course, tears through them like they are absolutely nothing and drinks their blood and does whatever. And then the kid's like, wow, you're awesome. And he's like, here's your broken ass hockey stick. And the kid's like, thanks. And then his grandfather's just like, oh, geez, that's, that's a pretty bloody mess here. And then Pitt's just like, I'm swinging my dick over this entire city, okay? And then we have worthless ass Youngblood derivative number 3, which is Bloodstrike, okay? I'll get into a funny thing I did in a Discord that didn't end very well, but I'll tell that story later. But that was, and then we have this, okay? I don't understand this because I know that Liefeld, there was a story here of Liefeld liking Bloodshot when he saw this character, right? He was like, this is a character I like. Okay, I love the design of him, whatever. So he drew a picture of Shaft and Bloodshot, right? And he's like, Youngblood, Bloodshot, this blood's for you. Because you know how Liefeld is. He just wants to throw the the clever puns or whatever out there, right? Um, you know, you could tell that the other picture, I think, was just roughly inked by Liefeld, because I don't think it was supposed to be a serious thing. He printed it, I think, without the even like the permission of Valiant or whatever to do that, because it wasn't like a real thing or whatever. But then we ended up getting this, and it says July '93, but that never fucking happened, right? What we ended up getting was the incredibly ill-fated Valiant Image crossover, whatever the hell it was called. I can't. Deathmate, and his book like almost never came out. So anyway, this was Youngblood number 4. Same thing that we get in any Youngblood book. There's no point in talking about a story. It was just, let's look at the artwork a little bit and discuss that. So that was it. I'll show a little bit, but I know that there's some people out there who tend to get pissed off at me because I don't talk about Liefeld's artwork very good, or him as a person, to be honest. It's what it is. Not everybody's perfect, but, he tends to, I don't know. Anyway, we're not going to get into that. But anyway, if you like this video, go ahead and hit like. If you want to see more of these type of videos, hit subscribe. That's it. Thanks for watching.